Have you ever had the ground disappear beneath your feet in a single night? Not because of bad luck, but because the people who gave you life decided to take everything you had? My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 29 years old, and 6 months ago, I survived a fire that destroyed my apartment. But the real nightmare didn't start with flames. It started with a phone call at 3 in the morning, and a 5-word response from my parents that would change everything. They said, "Not our problem." What I discovered in the days that followed would reveal a betrayal so calculated, so carefully hidden behind concern and family obligation that I still struggle to believe it happened. But before I tell you what I found, like this video if you're ready to hear the truth, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me take you back to the night that started it all. February 12th, 3:17 in the morning. My smoke alarm pierced the darkness, and I woke to something wrong, acrid, choking, burning. I didn't think. I just ran, barefoot in pajamas, down 4 flights of stairs that felt endless, each breath sharp like a knife. When I burst onto the street, the February cold hit me like a slap. I stood shaking in thin cotton as I watched my entire 4th-floor apartment become a tomb of orange flames. A firefighter approached, his face grim. "Everything in that unit is gone," he said. And he was right. 7 years of my life burned in hours. Photos of my grandparents, the only ones I had. The guitar my late stepfather gave me at 16. My college diploma. My laptop with every project, every memory of who I'd become. All of it turned to smoke and ash. I sank onto the curb and called my parents. My mother picked up after 8 rings, her voice thick with annoyance. "Do you know what time it is?" I told her about the fire, told her I'd lost everything, that I had nowhere to go. Her response was a single word: unfortunate, like I'd spilled coffee on my shirt. Then my stepfather Richard took the phone. His voice came flat and final. "This isn't our problem, Evelyn. You should have been more careful. You're an adult now." The line went dead. I sat there listening to silence as firefighters worked through the night and the sun rose over the ashes of my life. My parents hadn't asked if I was hurt. They hadn't offered to help. They hadn't even said they loved me. But as the shock hardened into something else, a memory surfaced. My mother had visited my apartment just 5 days before, her first visit in 2 years. She'd shown up unannounced, walked through every room touching things, asking questions. At the time, I'd been grateful, but now, wrapped in a stranger's blanket on that curb, I wondered why she'd really come. The thought seemed paranoid, impossible, yet I couldn't shake it. My coworker, Jason, saved me that first week. He didn't ask questions when I showed up at his door at 6 in the morning with ash in my hair and nothing but my phone. He just handed me coffee and said, "Stay as long as you need." 3 days later, I finally felt human enough to deal with insurance. The representative, Greg, asked a simple question that made me pause. "Can you confirm your relationship with Richard and Patricia Carter?" "They're my parents," I said. "Why?" Silence stretched too long. "Miss Carter, I think you need to come to our office. There's something you should see." That night, I barely slept. Something was wrong. I could feel it. I just didn't know how wrong. The insurance office smelled like stale coffee and bad news. Greg led me to a small conference room and slid a folder across the table. My policy was standard until I turned to the last page. Beneficiary designation: Richard Carter, Patricia Carter, 100%. The room tilted. "I never signed this," I heard myself say. "I would never." Greg pointed to the bottom. "That's your signature." It did look like mine. Same loops, same slant. But I knew the truth. I had never held that pen. "This form was submitted 6 months ago," he continued quietly. "The original policy had you listed as your own beneficiary. Someone changed it, and the payout amount was $150,000. Then Greg said something that stopped my heart. "A fire investigator called us this morning. He's been asking about this policy." My hands started shaking. I pressed them flat against the table. Marcus Webb was exactly what a fire investigator should look like. Weathered, sharp-eyed, all business. We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks away. He didn't waste time. I don't think your fire was an accident, he said. Fire patterns don't lie. The point of origin was near the outlet behind my dresser, but there was no electrical failure, no frayed wires, no surge damage. Someone helped that fire along, he explained. I've been doing this for 22 years. I know what accidental looks like. This isn't it. My heart stopped. Who had access to your apartment in the week before the fire? I made myself say it. My mother. Marcus nodded slowly, like a puzzle piece clicking into place. I checked the building's entry logs, he said. Electronic locks keep records. Only 2 people accessed your unit that week, you and a woman matching your mother's description. I couldn't speak. This investigation is active, he continued. If there's anything else, now's the time to tell me. That night, I called my mother. I kept my voice light, casual. Mom, I wanted to thank you for visiting last week. It meant a lot. A careful pause. Oh, yes. I missed you, sweetie, she said. Hey, quick question. Did you notice anything weird in my apartment? Anything off? The fire investigator keeps asking. Fire investigator? Her voice sharpened. Why would they investigate? I said. Apparently they think it might not be an accident. Silence stretched between us. Then her tone changed completely. Cold, controlled. Don't talk to those investigators without a lawyer, Evelyn. They twist your words. Why would I need a lawyer, Mom? I'm the victim here. I'm just trying to protect you, she said. Protect me from what? Another long pause. Then she said, Your father needs me. And the line went dead. I stared at my phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something had shifted. The grief was still there for my apartment, my things, the life I'd built. But underneath it, something harder was forming. Clarity. Her advice wasn't about protecting me. It was about protecting herself. I texted Marcus. We need to talk. I have more information. His reply came instantly. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., same place. That night, I didn't sleep. But this time it wasn't fear keeping me awake. It was the beginning of a plan. The calls started the next morning. My Aunt Margaret was first, my mother's younger sister, who always sent birthday cards, always remembered. Honey, she said, her voice dripping with concern. Your mom called me last night. She's so worried about you. Worried about what? She said you've been saying strange things about the fire, about her. I sat up straighter. I haven't told anyone anything. Evelyn, she said softly. What you went through would make anyone struggle. But she's worried you're having some kind of breakdown. I watched my mother on the small screen, the hallway camera capturing her walking in with the large black bag at 2:07 p.m., then emerging at 5:12 p.m. with nothing. 3 hours, Marcus said. She told you 30 minutes, but the bag was only the beginning. He pulled out a photo showing charred plastic and wire fragments. Fire investigators found this near the outlet, he explained. A digital timer, the kind you plug appliances into. My stomach dropped. We traced the serial number to a batch sold at a hardware store 3 miles from your parents' house. Another photo appeared on his screen. Grainy security footage from a store checkout counter. 8 days before the fire, cash purchase. The woman in the footage had brown hair, familiar posture, a purse I recognized immediately. Is that her? I asked. We'll need official identification, Marcus said, but yeah, that's her. I looked back at my parents' house. Through the living room window, I could see shapes moving, my family probably still discussing how sad it was that I'd lost my mind. My phone buzzed. Diana's voice came through before I could even say hello. The witness identification came through. He picked Patricia from a photo lineup, no hesitation, said he remembered her perfume. Chanel No. 5, my mother's one consistent vanity. I turned back to Marcus. How long until you can make an arrest? The warrant application went through 2 days ago, Marcus said, checking his watch. The judge signed it this morning. I've got 2 officers meeting me here in 30 minutes. He studied my face carefully. What are you planning? I'm going back inside, I said. I won't confront her. But when you walk through that door, I want my family to see the truth. All of it at once. He hesitated, then nodded. 30 minutes, he said. Then we end this. I sat in Marcus's car, gathering myself. The evidence was solid now. Video footage showing her entering with the bag and leaving without it. A witness who identified her at the insurance office. The charred timer found at the fire origin point. A hardware store purchase tied to her location. A forged signature with hesitation marks. Every piece locked into place. But there was one more thing. Jason had explained it to me the day before. Cloud backups, deleted text messages still sitting on servers, accessible with a proper subpoena. The legal request went through this morning, Marcus confirmed. Patricia's carrier is cooperating. We should have her message history within 48 hours. But I already knew what we'd find. She hadn't done this alone. Richard knew, maybe helped. And somewhere in those deleted messages was proof of it all. I nodded and opened the car door. Marcus checked his watch. "I'll be there at 2:45, he said. "Just stay calm. Let the evidence speak." I walked back to my parents' house and stood at the front door for a moment. Inside, my mother was still performing, still weaving her narrative, still believing she'd gotten away with it. I turned the handle and stepped inside. The conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward me. Patricia's expression shifted, relief that I'd come back, then something else. Calculation. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" she asked, her voice dripping with concern. "I'm fine," I said. Actually, I wanted to apologize. The room went very quiet. To everyone here. For the confusion I've caused. For the worry I've put my family through. I saw relief wash across their faces. This was what they wanted to hear. The moment where unstable Evelyn came to her senses. I continued. "I know it's been hard to understand what I've been saying, but I need you all to know something. The truth. Not my version. Not her version. The actual truth." Patricia stood. "Evelyn, I think you should sit down, maybe get some water." "No," I said. "I'm done sitting. I'm done being quiet, and I'm done letting you control the narrative." The doorbell rang. Marcus Webb stood on the porch in his official capacity, 2 uniformed officers behind him. Patricia's face went white. "What is this?" she demanded. My mother's hands started shaking. She looked at Richard, and in that single glance, I saw it all. The plan, the desperation, the calculation that had led to this moment. Marcus stepped forward, his weathered face grave. "Patricia Ann Carter, I have a warrant for your arrest on suspicion of arson, attempted insurance fraud, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The room erupted. Aunt Margaret gasped. Uncle Thomas stood, confused. Cousin Brian pulled out his phone. But I didn't look at any of them. I watched my mother's face as reality crashed down. The performance was over. The mask had cracked. As the officers placed handcuffs on her wrists, she looked at me with something I'd never seen before. Not love, not anger, just the cold acknowledgement of someone who'd underestimated their opponent. She'd burned down my apartment thinking she could burn down my credibility too. She'd underestimated how much evidence she'd left behind. She'd forgotten that in the digital age, nothing truly disappears. And she'd made the fatal mistake of believing her own lies for so long that she couldn't see the truth when it was right in front of her. Richard tried to move toward the door, but Marcus blocked his path. "We'll be wanting to talk to you as well," he said. "Don't leave town." As they led my mother out of the house, past the relatives who'd come to witness her performance, she didn't fight. She didn't cry. She just walked, her shoulders straight, like she was going to brunch, not to jail. The door closed behind them, and the living room fell silent. Aunt Margaret was the first to speak. "Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't believe." The guilt in her voice was real, but I couldn't comfort her right now. Not yet. I turned to look at each face in that room. These were people who'd known me my whole life. People who chose to believe a mother's tears over a daughter's truth. People who were more comfortable with a convenient narrative than an uncomfortable reality. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. The room fell completely silent when I walked back in. My mother was still at the center, tissue in hand, playing the wounded maternal figure. But something flickered in her eyes when she saw my face. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't behaving like someone on the verge of breakdown. Evelyn, honey. She recovered quickly. Are you feeling better? Do you need water? Actually, Mom, I said. I have a question. 15 pairs of eyes fixed on me. When you visited my apartment last month, why did you stay for 3 hours? You told me it was 30 minutes. Patricia blinked. What? I don't remember exactly. The building has cameras, I said, pulling out my phone. I have the footage. Her face changed for just a second. A flicker of something cold beneath the maternal mask. Richard straightened. Evelyn, that's enough. You're embarrassing yourself. And the bag you brought? I continued, ignoring him. The large black one. Where did it go? Because you walked in with it. You walked out empty-handed. I don't know what you're talking about, my mother said. The fire investigators do. The room was utterly still now. Aunt Margaret's mouth hung open. Cousin Brian had set down his drink. Even Richard had stopped pretending to check his phone. Patricia's voice lost its honey sweetness. Pure steel now. I don't know what lies these investigators have been feeding you. Then both her phone and Richard's rang at the same moment. They looked at each other. Something passed between them. Real fear, I realized. Richard glanced at his screen. His face went white. Patricia, he said, his voice cracking. It's the police. The doorbell rang. Uncle Thomas, closest to the door, opened it without thinking. Marcus Webb stepped inside, badge visible on his belt. 2 uniformed officers flanked him. Patricia Carter, he said, crossing the room in 4 steps. You're under arrest for arson in the 2nd degree and insurance fraud. This is ridiculous. My mother's voice came out shrill, nothing like her usual composure. Evelyn set me up. She's been planning this. She's sick. Marcus took her arm firmly. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Don't believe her. My mother twisted toward the family, mascara starting to run. She's unstable. She's been making things up since the fire. The handcuffs clicked into place. The sound echoed through the silent room. Richard tried to step toward his wife, but the 2nd officer blocked him. Mr. Carter, we have questions for you as well. Please come with us. I didn't. I wasn't, he started. Richard, my mother screamed. Shut up. But it was too late. The family had heard everything. I read it. The words blurred at first, then sharpened. Patricia came up with the plan after we fell behind on payments. Gambling debts. That was my fault. But she said this would fix everything. Said you had good insurance. Said no one would get hurt. No one would get hurt. I set the paper down. What's the damage? Arson in the 2nd degree, a Class B felony, plus insurance fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. She's looking at 8 to 12 years with a plea deal. Probably 6. And Richard? Conspiracy charges. He knew about the plan, helped cover it up. 2 years probation and mandatory gambling addiction treatment. He's agreed to testify against her. The insurance payout is being redirected, Diana continued. You're the rightful beneficiary. Always were. $150,000 minus legal fees should be in your account within 60 days. I thought about that money, everything I'd lost converted to a number. I want a restraining order against both of them, I said. That can be arranged. And I want this kept quiet. No media circus. Diana nodded. The court conceals certain records, especially given the family nature of the case. I stood and looked out her window at the city below. People walking, living their lives, unaware. Thank you, I said. You did the hard part, she replied. I just handled the paperwork. News travels fast in small communities. Within 2 weeks, everyone knew. The church my mother had attended for 30 years, the book club she'd hosted, the neighbors who'd admired her garden, all of them whispering behind closed doors. Aunt Margaret kept me updated whether I wanted to hear it or not. The pastor asked her not to come back, she told me over coffee. Said it was too disruptive for the congregation. I could imagine that very well. Richard lost his job, she continued. The store owner didn't want the publicity. Someone spray-painted their garage door. Had to repaint it twice. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel pity either. Just a hollow understanding that reputation, once lost, is nearly impossible to reclaim. "She's been calling everyone," Margaret said, trying to explain, "saying it was a misunderstanding, that the evidence was planted, that you manipulated the investigators." She shook her head. "Nobody's answering anymore." "Good," I said. Margaret reached across the table and took my hand. "She's my sister. I grew up with her. And what she did to you?" Her voice caught. "That's not family. That's not anything I recognize." "It's not your fault," I said. "I know, but I still feel it." We sat in silence. Outside the coffee shop window, life went on. Cars passed, people laughed, the world kept spinning. "The gambling debts," I finally asked. "How bad was it?" Margaret's face darkened. "Bad. $180,000, maybe more, to people you don't want to owe money to." That explained the desperation. She thought she could fix it by burning my life down. She thought wrong. The court date came on a gray Thursday in April. I sat in the back row of the courtroom, watching my mother in her orange jumpsuit, her wrists cuffed in front of her. Her hair had grown out, gray showing at the roots now. No salon appointments in county jail. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. She didn't turn around to see if I was there. The judge read the charges: arson in the second degree, insurance fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud. Each word landed like a stone. Patricia's public defender had negotiated a plea deal, guilty on all counts in exchange for a reduced sentence recommendation. "Patricia Carter," the judge said, "you are hereby sentenced to 6 years in state prison with eligibility for parole after 4 years. My mother would be 62 when she got out, if she got out early." I watched her shoulders shake, crying maybe, or just the weight of it finally hitting her. Richard's hearing was separate because he'd cooperated fully and testified against Patricia. The DA offered him a deal: 18 months in county jail, suspended to 2 years probation contingent on 200 hours of community service and completion of a gambling addiction program. One violation, and he'd serve every day of that time. The judge made crystal clear: his name on a public record forever. After the sentencing, Diana met me in the hallway. "The insurance money cleared yesterday," she said. $142,000 after legal fees. It's in your account. The restraining order was approved too. Neither of them can contact you directly or through third parties for the next 10 years. "Thank you," I said. The number felt abstract, meaningless. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it. "Empty," I said finally, "but free." She nodded like that made sense. It did. I started therapy 3 weeks after the trial. Dr. Okonkwo had kind eyes and a habit of asking questions I didn't want to answer, which meant she was exactly what I needed. "Do you forgive them?" she asked during our 4th session. I stared at the ceiling. "Forgiveness isn't my job right now," I said. "Healing is." She smiled. "That's a healthy perspective. You're not forcing yourself into an emotion you don't feel. That's growth." I moved into a new apartment at the end of April. Smaller than my old one, a studio in a quieter neighborhood, but it had good locks, a security system I chose myself, and no memories. Jason helped me move in. Aunt Margaret sent flowers. Uncle Thomas dropped off a casserole and said, "Call if you need anything." I bought a new guitar. Nothing could replace the one my stepfather had given me, but when I played it, I could almost hear him again, his voice teaching me chords, his laugh when I messed up. Some things can't be recovered, but you can build new ones. The nightmares faded over time. The smoke and fire, my mother's face, the sound of Richard's cold voice, they visited less and less. Some nights I slept straight through till morning. Family, I decided, isn't about blood, it's about choice, about who shows up, who protects you, who believes you when the world says you're crazy. My biological mother tried to destroy me. My chosen family helped me survive. That was everything. 2 months after the sentencing, a letter arrived. I recognized the return address: State Women's Correctional Facility. My mother's handwriting on the envelope, smaller and neater than I remembered. I almost threw it away unopened, but something made me stop. I sat at my kitchen table and read it. "Dear Evelyn, I've had a lot of time to think in here about what I did, about what I lost. You have to understand, I was desperate. Your father's debts were crushing us. And I thought, I'm not making excuses. What I did was wrong, but you're still my daughter. You're still my baby. Please come visit me. Please let me explain. I'm still your mother. Love, Mom. I read it twice, 3 times. Then I got a piece of paper and wrote back. Not to send, just for myself. Patricia, you were my mother, but the woman who raised me would never have tried to kill me for money. I don't know who you are, and I don't need to find out. Don't write again. I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I'd send it. Maybe not. Then I blocked the prison's incoming mail through my post office. Professional, clean, final. Jason came over that evening for dinner. He noticed the envelope in my trash. You okay? I thought about the question, really considered it. Better than okay, I said. I'm free. We cooked together in my tiny kitchen. Pasta with vegetables. Nothing fancy. Music playing softly from my new speaker. My new guitar leaning against the wall. It wasn't the life I'd planned. It was better. I'm sitting in my apartment now, looking out the window at the city lights. 6 months since the fire. 4 months since the trial. A lifetime since I stopped believing that family meant safety. Sometimes I think about what I lost, the photos that can't be reprinted, the guitar that sang with my stepfather's voice, the naive belief that my mother loved me more than money. Those things are gone. But here's what I found. Strength I didn't know I had. Friends who became family, the ability to trust my own instincts even when everyone around me said I was wrong. Fire destroys. Everyone knows that. But what they don't tell you is that fire also reveals. It burns away the surface, the pretenses, the lies, the carefully constructed images, and shows you what's underneath. My mother's love was conditional. It always had been. The fire just finally showed me the price tag. If you're watching this, if you're in a family that makes you feel crazy for telling the truth, you're not crazy. You're awake. And being awake is terrifying at first. But it's also the beginning of freedom. I'm Evelyn Carter. I'm 29 years old, and my mother tried to burn down my apartment for insurance money. She failed. Not because I was smarter, not because I was lucky, but because I finally stopped protecting people who would never protect me. That's the hardest lesson and the most important one. You're allowed to save yourself, especially from family. The fire took everything I owned, but it couldn't take who I am. And in the end, that's all that matters. Trust is earned, not assumed. Your gut feeling exists for a reason. When something feels wrong, it probably is. And setting boundaries isn't abandoning family. It's protecting yourself from people who already abandoned you first. If this story helped you feel less alone tonight, drop a heart in the comments. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them. I'm Evelyn, and I'm still standing. And if you're going through something similar, you will too.